Christiane here, and for this segment of our home practice, the primary focus will be on the area of the neck and then extending that to the shoulders and the wrists. So whether there's been neck pain in your life, headaches, migraines, and so on, one thing that I am particularly aware as I go about and see people, especially as they age, is that the syndrome of the head protruding forward, right? Where all of this area of the neck, there's 20 muscles around the neck, so all this front area gets really tight and the back area gets overly elongated. And so when muscles are tight, blood vessels restrict, and that of course in turn restricts the blood flow to the brain. I don't know about you, but as I age, I am more and more interested in cultivating a optimal flow to the brain, because I want to be able to retain things and call upon things without that delayed reaction. So whatever brings you, if it's just a curiosity around movements that can bring more nourishment to these areas, let's go ahead and get going. How do you fit it into your world would probably be the first place to consider before taking on the practice. So just saying that realistically you see yourself putting in 2 to 3 minutes a day for the area of the neck and shoulders, then these are the 2 things that I'd like for you to do. Number 1, just take both of your hands to either side of your neck. The thumb can be forward, whatever way is more comfortable. But the idea here with this exercise is to allow your sense of touch to support the neck so much that if you get really quiet, you can feel a realignment happening from within. Perhaps you can feel the front of the neck lengthening a bit more. The back of the head moving back slightly. Perhaps you, like me, can also feel one of the sides of the neck lengthening a little bit more in order to create more balance. So just being here with the touch. If this position is not supporting you, if it's not comfortable for you for whatever reason, then maybe it's just one hand in front of the shoulder, one hand to the back, or vice versa, whatever works. But really allowing touch to support that internal work. And then from this, releasing the hands. And then again, with this more subtle awareness of movement happening from within, you can let the subtle movement of the shoulders to begin to unravel. Maybe it's circular motions as one shoulder moves forward, the other moves back. As one goes up, the other goes down. Or maybe it's something completely different, but just allowing the shoulders to begin to release a bit from, especially from the upper trapezius, that upper part of the shoulders that is connected to the neck. Allow them to to create a little bit more room, a little bit more space, and a little more independence as well. And then if you like, you can extend that into the wrists, yeah? As the hands begin to move as well. So just a very natural flow. There's nothing particular that you need to follow. So maybe ideal here is to even just to simply close your eyes and allow it to unfold as it will. But while keeping the pelvic floor nice and stable, wherever it is that you're sitting, allowing the shoulders to begin to move the thoracic spine with the intention of expansion, of opening. And while maintaining that cervical spine, the area of the neck nice and still, as if your hands were still there, cupping that area of the neck. And so there you have it. Once your 2 or 3 minutes are up, you go ahead and rest your arms back. Acknowledge the benefits of the little bit that you just did, so you make sure and do it again tomorrow, the next day, and so on. Consecutive days for at least a week, just to begin to notice the benefits of simple little practices like this. But then let's say you have an additional 10 minutes or so. And then in this case, I will invite you, let's say you're sitting on your desk, right? I invite you to bring your hands to the back of the chair, or if you're sitting on your yoga mat, as is the case here for me, just take your hands to the back of the mat, and then press down with the hands. Let me even myself out a little bit more. Press down with the hands. Press down through the base of your spine, including your true sits bones. And then from the thoracic spine, begin to lift up through the sternum, through the chest, through the collarbones, allowing both shoulders to broaden away from one another. And then finally, but very gently, it may not be appropriate for your neck today. If it feels safe to lengthen through the front of the neck, you do that. If it feels like too much, if it feels like you're pinching something, then right away, come on back. Breathe. So let this be subtle. When we force ourselves into a shape, the muscles, they don't feel safe to release. Yeah. So we need to be committed to basic principles such as what's the foundation here, right? In this case, it's pressing down and out with the hands, pressing down through the area of the base of the spine. But then the lift is a more organic type of an experience. And then when you're done with this, walk your hands out to the side so that the fingertips are still touching the ground. Has a really stabilizing effect. And then reach one arm up, whichever arm. And then cross it over to the opposite ear. And then here, begin to very gently move that top ear away from the shoulder, very gently. And move the bottom ear towards the bottom shoulder, again, very gently. But you do this while keeping in mind the length of the entire spine. So as it turns, it's arcing, it's not folding, right? It's arcing. So there's a lift that continues up through the crown of the head as you fold towards one side. And now here, with the shoulders, you can return to that nice flowing movement of encouraging the shoulder to release itself a bit from the upper muscles, the trapezius. So just releasing and releasing. And then making sure that you remain connected to your breath here. Making sure that there is no clenching of the jaw, that the eyes, like whole face is receding back. And after you played around with the arm a little bit, maybe even small little circles back, you can take that bottom, that free hand now, to the bottom part of the head, and then slowly use that to support you to come back to a neutral position. And then once you have, just come back to that starting point where both hands were down, all fingertips were down, base of the spine is rooted, and then the crown of the head is going up. And just notice the difference between the two sides of the neck. The side that you just elongated, and then the side that was at the bottom. Just observe. And then as you feel ready, reach the opposite arm up. Again, cross it over to the other side, recognizing that both sides are very different, right? So having no expectations that you will go as far with this other side, but also knowing that you may go much further. So just as you arc, so from the base of the spine, you're looking to create more length along the area of your vertebra, each vertebra. And then from here, that top shoulder again, the top ear again, releasing itself away from the bottom from that shoulder. And then the bottom ear moving in the direction of the bottom shoulder, but as an arc, not as a fold. Breathe. And then here again, you can allow some organic movement with the shoulder and the wrist. Feel the shoulder expand, like a balloon that you're blowing up on. Just allow it to expand, circulation to move through. You may even want to try or bring the hand to the back of the mat as we did before, and use that little bit of anchor to lift the shoulder up and out. Lift it up and out. Up and out. Or just more of a free flow movement. And then when you feel that you're done, 2 minutes on each side would be a good way to begin to really release deeply in there, but 3 minutes could be even better. And then that bottom hand lifts it back up, and then you find your way back into a neutral position. This time just resting the hands on your thighs. So a little bit of blood flow to the neck, to the shoulders. And then right here, it could just be about going back to work and then observing those 5 minutes or so, the effect that had on your work, on your capacity to keep that freshness of attention in what you're doing. And then what's the cost, right? 5 minutes. Not bad. But if you do have more time, then let's continue with this work. If you have a blanket, I recommend getting a blanket for this, although it's not necessary. It could also just be a pillow. But if you have a blanket like so, you do a threefold with it, okay? So that the height that you have is something like that. So I'm going to place that blanket onto my mat. I'm going to come around in a prone position. And then from here, I will rest my forehead onto the blanket, but encouraging the forehead to move down. Okay? So that has a beautiful way of relaxing the vagus nerve, right? The one that's responsible to call upon our parasympathetic system. The one that tells us it's okay to relax. So then bring the arms out in a cactus shape, 90-degree angle, both sides. And just breathe here. Locate your right arm, the forearm and the wrist on one end and the elbow on the other hand. Press down into it as you begin to roll your torso up and away from that arm. So now you're bringing the head out to the side. So now you're on your right temple and on your right arm. Now the idea is to lift the torso, especially that right side chest, the right chest, away from the shoulder without straining, of course. Remembering that the muscle is sensitive, it wants to be handled gently, and then it will respond. You will become very supple for sure. So then from here, take that left arm, bring it back so that the palm is facing out like so. Go ahead and bend the legs. Gives you a little bit more length through the torso. And then the idea here is to encourage both shoulders to move away from one another, away from the midline. Keep the legs active to support the engagement. Keep the spine long. But again, the face is receding. The jaw is released. And the shoulders continue to move up and away from one another. And by up, I mean up from the socket of the joint, not up towards the ears, so there's no tension there. The trapezius, those upper parts of the shoulder, they're dropping down, of the back are dropping down. Breathe. And then coming back to center. Taking a moment here just to notice the effects of what you just did. How it feels on that side that you leaned into. And then again, we'll rotate to the second side. So now the side of the head, the side of the temple is resting on the blanket, but you don't need a blanket. You just be on the ground. And then that top arm, at first you can just create this little tripod here just to align yourself better. Go ahead and bend the legs in a 90-degree angle. If you have a wall behind you, you can press into that. So there is engagement here. The length of the torso, but the face is receding, the jaw is receding. And then as you're ready, take the palm, have it face back. And that bottom chest, the left chest, encourage it to move forward, away from that bottom shoulder. Both shoulders are moving out of the socket and away from one another. as you continue to breathe and smile, even if from just within, giving yourself some care, really important care, bringing circulation into an area that is often overtaxed. Breathe and open. So as you want to find a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flexibility in muscles that are otherwise tight, it's important to create the condition, as we are in this position here, to give yourself the time, at least a couple of minutes, if not more, and to check in and make sure that you are remaining relaxed throughout. And of course, the breath can help you with this. Being aware of the breath, of the exhalation in particular, coming to its completion before you inhale again. And then as you're ready, find your way back to center. You can keep the legs bent. Just lengthening the torso. Just breathing here, releasing here. Now, in this position, you go ahead and take that left arm, cross it over once more with the palm facing back, but staying on your belly for this one. And then take your right hand and clasp with the left here. And again, encourage those shoulders to move away from one another. Encourage the front of the neck to lengthen up. And those upper back muscles, the trapezius, to release down. Feel the collarbones opening. And release. And let go. And now second side. Bringing that right arm up and over, the palm is open. So just to the left side of the sacrum. And then taking that left arm up, clasping hands, pressing down through the sacrum. You can keep the legs engaged, bent here, that's fine. And then broadening those shoulders away from one another. Feel the front of the neck lengthen. The back upper muscles release down the back. And breathe. Watch to see if you may be yanking too much, too soon, too fast, that you can't find that place of being with your breath in the pose. Back off a little so that you can stay with your breath. Yes, you feel the stretch. Yes, there's tension, but it's one that you can handle with ease. Or at least practicing ease while you're handling it. And then when you're ready, go ahead and let that go. You can place your hands out in front. Now we're going to do one that really opens deeply through the area of the armpits and brings more awareness to that movement of the shoulder back and awakens the back of the arms, the triceps. So we're going to turn the blanket over this way. Again, we're going to have the forehead on the blanket, but we're also going to have the elbows up on the blanket. And if you don't have a blanket, that's okay. Forehead on the ground, elbows on the ground. So as you bring your elbows forward, go ahead and stretch them a little further forward. So you're really opening to the area of the armpits. And then rest the head there. If you need to move the blanket a little bit up or down, make the adjustment that is necessary. Again, encouraging the forehead to move down towards the nose ridge. And bringing those elbows really close together. Close together. And then from here, extend the arms, extend the legs. And then bend. As the hands come to the shoulders, the heels can come to the bum. Extend. And back. In. Extend. And in. Keep going. Just want to show you that if you don't have a blanket, as you straighten the arms, go ahead and lift those elbows off the ground. Yeah? Like so. And if you feel a nice little burn in the back, in the area of the triceps, the back of the upper arms, then you're definitely in it. And bend. And extend. Notice that the elbows want to travel out and away. So keep nudging those elbows in towards one another. Maybe if you have a strap, you can use the strap too. And when you're done with that, let's just do one more here. Bending the legs. If it's there for you to catch one ankle, and flex that foot, do it. It's there for you to catch the other ankle, do it. This feels like it's too strenuous on your front wrists, shoulders. Take the hand to the outside of the ankles. And then here, press those ankles back so that the fronts of the shoulders begin to lift. And of course, if you're straining to reach for the ankles in any way, then just come back to what we did here with one hand crossing and opening. All of that beautiful work is in essence taking us to the same place. Yeah? So then, if you're happy here, pressing back through your ankles, lengthening the fronts of the shoulders, begin to now lengthen the front of the neck as well. And that will likely mean your head coming up. Dhanurasana. Here it's really important that you do bring the pelvis, the front of the pelvis down into the ground. And broaden through the lumbar spine as you lengthen and lengthen and lengthen. And release. Now, one important thing to note here is that as you lengthen the front of the neck, you don't need to collapse through the back. Yet that tendency is there. So let's do this movement one more time, or any variation of it, with or without holding on to the ankles, where you're really noticing what's going on with the back of the neck as you lengthen the front of the neck. So again, the forehead is on the blanket. The hands come to the ankles. I do not recommend coming all the way up on the inside. That's too much. That's just to stay where you were. If you're coming into the whole Dhanurasana shape, then take the hands to the outside of the ankles. So then here, broaden through the front of the shoulders, really press down through the fronts of the thighs and then down through the front of the pelvic floor. And then from there, lengthen the neck, lengthen the front of the neck. And allow the back of the neck to remain free as well. So you're lengthening the front of the neck as the back of the neck remains free. Lengthening through the front, broadening through the shoulders, broadening through the collarbones. The backs of the shoulders are moving forward to encourage that sternum to lift even more. The tips of the shoulders are coming down to encourage the sternum to lift up even more. And when you've had enough, bring it down. And just rest here for a moment. Feel all that circulation moving through, revitalizing things, freeing up stagnation, restriction. And then let's take just a little moment extra to work the wrists a little bit more. So whenever we are against resistance, we are strengthening the bones, right? So it's important that just once in a while, just something as simple as this, or having the hand up against the wall, that you allow yourself to experience that resistance, bringing the fingertips up while keeping the mounds of the fingers down. And if this feels a little bit tough on your knees, then use the blanket under your knees, yeah? So you are lifting up through all 10 fingertips while keeping the mounds of each finger, like the first bone of each finger, down. Some of us may be able to just take the hands out to the sides. If so, go ahead and give that a go. Again, pressing, so like you want to see both thumbs moving straight ahead. One of my thumbs is already starting to bend a little, so I have to manually encourage it. My texting thumb, of course. Encourage it to move forward. And then some of us may be able to take the hands to face back and then get a really nice opening through the forearm, the back of the forearm. Lifting through the fingertips, breathe here. And here you could do some work with the cervical spine again. If this is too much, take the fingertips back forward. But just working on rounding through the cervical spine. So don't worry about the whole spine. Leave the lumbar as is. The thoracic is going to move a little bit, but just really focusing on the upper part of the spine. As you round up, empty the breath. Lift the spine off of the shoulders. And then as you inhale, drop the spine between the shoulders and then lengthen the front of the neck. lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. As the shoulders broaden away from each other, the collarbones broadens away from each other. Again, rounding. Just stay with the thoracic spine, that's it. Emptying the breath, lifting the spine off of those shoulders. And then coming up and through. And again, round. And up and through. Let's just do one more together. Know that this is available to you to repeat as often as you like. And then as you lower the vertebrae between the shoulders, lengthen the front of the neck, bring the head out and up, like a turtle coming out of its shell. And then coming back to